Hi, I'm Silas. My mom once laughed at my career on a live stream right in front of strangers, then kept using my money like nothing ever happened. I stayed quiet for years, paid their bills, let them take credit. But when they erased me from the family photo, I finally stopped pretending. Have you ever felt like your family only loved what you gave, not who you are? What time are you listening to this, and where are you watching from? Drop a comment. I really want to know. I should have known the second I stepped inside. The hallway still smelled faintly like lemon cleaner and something deeper. Maybe dust, maybe memories that never quite settled. My mother's voice floated in from the kitchen, casual as ever, like I'd just come over to borrow a blender. "There's extra wine in the fridge if you want some," she called. I smiled politely, muttered something about being fine. I was already balancing a small white cake box in my arms, its corners soft from condensation. I'd picked it up on the way. Nothing fancy, just chocolate with cream cheese frosting. My favorite. Or at least it used to be. The kitchen was bright, busy. Colton was talking about some new podcast deal. Dad nodded, not really listening. Mom was chopping celery like she was auditioning for a cooking show. No one asked why I came with a cake. No one asked anything. I stood there for 10 whole minutes, waiting. A glance, a smile, maybe a happy birthday. Nothing. Just the same rhythm of their lives, perfectly rehearsed without me. Eventually, Mom looked over her shoulder. "Could you help peel potatoes for Colton's thing tomorrow?" I blinked. "Tomorrow?" "His promotion party," she said, as if I'd forgotten. "We're doing dinner, just family." I nodded. My smile felt tight, like it didn't belong to my face. I placed the cake gently on the far edge of the counter, then walked to the guest room. No one noticed. Inside, I sank onto the bed and stared at my phone screen. The reminder I set months ago popped up right on time. Happy 30th. I didn't cry. I'd done that already, years ago. Instead, I took a deep breath and opened the Notes app. Flashbacks are funny. You don't invite them, they just barge in. Like the year I turned 12 and had to share my birthday with Colton's science fair win. Like graduation, where Mom whispered during my speech, "Don't go on too long. Your brother's got his award next." Like when I told her I got into the art program, and she said, "That's cute, but what will you actually do for work?" The next morning, I went to the living room to grab my charger. That's when I saw it. A new family portrait, hung dead center above the fireplace, framed, glossy, posed. Everyone was there, except me. I stood there longer than I meant to, tracing the edges of the photo with my eyes. Mom in her red blouse, Dad with a hand on Colton's shoulder, even the dog. When she walked in, I pointed. "That's recent." She didn't flinch. "Well, you're not here much these days. It's just practical." Just practical. I nodded, like that made sense. Like practicality explained why erasing someone felt so neat. Back in the guest room, I sat on the edge of the bed again. Opened my phone again. No texts, no calls, no thinking of you today. I opened the Notes app, typed, "Reminder, you exist, even if they forget." My thumb hovered over delete. Then I hit save. This time I'd remember, even if they never did. It started with a click. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling in that familiar after-midnight stillness, where silence feels louder than it should. I couldn't sleep, so I did what I always did. Opened YouTube and let the algorithm lead me somewhere new. That's when I saw it. Colton's name in bold, the thumbnail flashy and overly branded. 5 Secrets to Scaling Fast. One of his self-help meets entrepreneur guru videos. I didn't plan to watch, but something about the title, or maybe the thumbnail with him mid-gesture, pulled me in. The video began. The first thing I heard wasn't his voice. It was a beat I knew too well. Then a smooth transition into a 10-second animated intro. Colors, font, motion, all mine. Every second. Every keyframe. I sat up. I didn't get mad. Not right away. My heart didn't even race. That was the worst part. I had grown so used to being erased, that part of me just watched, expressionless, like it was happening to someone else. A few months ago, I had shown Colton that exact animation when he stopped by. He had asked if I could help him spice up his branding. I remember showing it to him on my iPad. He had nodded, said, "Cool, I'll try something similar. I didn't realize similar meant exactly the same. I texted him, "Hey, just saw your new vid. That intro looks familiar." He replied 10 minutes later, "I thought you said it was fine to use. It's family stuff, right?" Family stuff. Like my time, my talent, and my identity were communal property. I didn't answer. 2 days later, he was tagged in a local news feature. I saw it on Mom's Facebook. She had shared it with the caption, "Knew you had it in you since you were 5." The headline read, "Boise's Own Creative Mind Wins Innovation Award." They played the clip, the same one with my intro, on a projector in front of a room full of people clapping. Colton stood on stage in a blazer he probably borrowed. Smiling, proud, perfect. I watched it with the sound off. The applause felt louder that way. I tried to imagine what it would feel like to be recognized for something I made. Then I remembered I already was, just not by name. The camera panned, catching Mom in the crowd. She clapped harder than anyone. Later that night, I sat in my apartment with the lights off. No music, no wine, just quiet. I opened the file, the animation project he used, the one I spent 37 hours on. I hovered over delete. I stared at it for a long time. Then I clicked Save As instead. The email came at 8:13 a.m. sharp. I hadn't even poured my first cup of coffee when the subject line lit up my screen. Application status, declined. At first, I thought it was a mistake. My credit was clean, at least it should have been. I hadn't missed a payment in years, and I'd carefully calculated every cent before applying. This place was supposed to be my reset, my quiet. A small one-bedroom on the edge of town with just enough sunlight and no memories. I called the leasing office immediately. The woman on the phone was kind, but brisk. "We couldn't move forward due to an unpaid personal loan under your name," she said. It triggered our financial risk flags. "What loan?" I asked. There was a pause. "It was reported through Firstland Credit Union," she said. "Issued 5 months ago. It's listed as unresolved." My hands started to sweat. Firstland was the same bank where my mother had her checking account. I knew that because I used to drive her there when she didn't trust mobile banking. I opened my credit report, heart thudding. There it was. A $3,000 personal loan taken out in my name. No payments made. My stomach dropped. I called her. "Hi, Mom," I said, trying to keep my voice from cracking. "Did you take out a loan in my name?" She didn't even hesitate. "Yes," she said, like I had asked her if she used the toaster. "I used your info because mine wouldn't go through. It's family, right?" I didn't respond. Not when she added, "You always help, honey. I knew you wouldn't mind." And not when she laughed softly like I was being overly sensitive. Later that day, I drove past the apartment building. I parked across the street, got out of the car, and stood on the sidewalk, staring at the red bricks and black trim. I had already imagined where the couch would go, where I'd hang my art, where I'd sit to drink coffee on Sundays. Now, none of it would happen. I checked my phone again. A text from the leasing office had come through. "Unfortunately, we cannot proceed due to unresolved debt obligations. Best of luck in your search." I didn't cry, but I sat down on the curb and leaned my back against the cold metal of a parking sign. Then my phone buzzed again. Voicemail from my mother. "You're overreacting," she said. "You always make things bigger than they are." I didn't listen to the rest. That night, I opened my budgeting spreadsheet, a familiar ritual. One column for my income, one for bills, one for transfers. My eyes landed on the cell labeled Monthly Family Support. I hovered over it. I didn't delete it, not yet. But I did add a note beside it. She used my name without asking. Then I opened a new tab and titled it, Things I Take Back. I was halfway through my coffee when I heard her voice through the thin walls. "Colton was so thoughtful," she said, almost giggling. "He didn't even wait for us to ask. Just paid the roofer up front." My hand paused midair, mug inches from my lips. I didn't move. I barely blinked. She was on the phone with Mrs. Jenkins, the neighbor with the wind chimes that never stop. I could picture the scene. Mom at the kitchen table, corded phone cradled to her ear, gesturing with one hand like she was on a talk show. My phone was already in my hand. I opened my banking app, scrolled down, and found it. The $1,850 wire transfer 2 months ago. Roof repair. Memo. Urgent, don't wait. I remembered her voice that morning, shaky, desperate. The roof was leaking, she said. They couldn't afford another storm. She didn't ask me twice. She didn't say thank you either. I walked into the kitchen. She hung up with a hum, smiling faintly at the counter. Did Colton really pay for the roof? I asked, my tone light. She shrugged. Well, he said he'd handle it. Maybe you both chipped in? No, I covered the whole thing, I said. She gave a small sigh, the kind you reserve for unreasonable children. Silas, why do you always need recognition? It's just a roof. No, it wasn't just a roof. It was being erased while still holding the pen. That night, I sat in bed and opened Facebook, something I hadn't done in weeks. I don't know why I did. Maybe I wanted to feel something. I found the post in seconds. Colton had uploaded a photo, him and Dad in front of the house, both smiling like they'd just won a prize. Caption, doing what a son should, taking care of what matters. The comment section was a chorus. Such a good man. Your parents must be so proud. Elaine commented, we're lucky to have you. My name didn't appear once, not even a like on my last message in the family group chat. Not a heart, not a single word. I closed the app and stared at the ceiling until it blurred. For once, it wasn't about being forgotten. It was about being replaced. Later, I opened a blank document. No title yet, just white space. I typed the words slowly, one by one, what I paid for. Then I stared at the blinking cursor. It waited, so did I. And then I whispered, not for the document, but for myself. If they won't remember, I will. This time I'll make a record. I shouldn't have gone. But guilt is tricky like that, slinking in through the cracks between logic and obligation. By the time I pulled into the driveway, the turkey was already in the oven and laughter spilled from the kitchen like it always had, too loud and too familiar. I stepped inside. The air smelled like sage and sugar and something artificial. My mother's lipstick was a little too red, her hair a little too stiff. Colton stood at the head of the table, phone in hand, grinning. We're live, by the way, he shouted cheerfully. Say hi to my followers. Elaine waved like she was on a talk show. One of my kids really made it, she said, nodding toward Colton. The other's degree was cute, though. I still don't know what it was for. They laughed. It took me a second to realize she was talking about me, and even less time to notice that no one, not my dad, not even Colton, said otherwise. I smiled. Not because it was funny, but because that's what I was trained to do. I kept my fork moving, my voice polite, my posture composed. 10 minutes later, I excused myself to the restroom, locked the door, pressed my back against the wood, and stared at my reflection. Is this the moment I stop pretending this doesn't hurt? I splashed cold water on my face, reapplied lip balm, and re-entered the noise. They didn't notice I was gone. The next morning, I opened my inbox with half a yawn. One subject line made me sit up straight. Contract terminated, immediate effect. The client didn't even try to soften the blow. The email was brief, professional, final, and attached was a clip from the live stream. My mother's voice, clear as ever, mocking my degree. We thought you had more stability at home, the client wrote. It's a trust thing. I didn't respond. I closed the project file I'd been working on. Hours of animation, scripting, rendering, all gone with a click. I sat still for a long time. Not frozen, not shocked, just still. Later that night, I picked up the phone and called her. She answered cheerfully. Sweetheart, wasn't Colton's stream so fun? Why did you say that? I asked. My voice didn't rise. It didn't shake. Say what? She replied, genuinely unsure. Oh, that? Don't be dramatic. It's family. People know we tease. I didn't argue. I just hung up. And for the first time, I didn't feel guilty. If you can laugh at my life in front of strangers, I can stop funding yours. I ran into Erin at the cafe near the bookstore. We hadn't talked in months, but she still smiled like nothing had changed. She bought her coffee, turned around, and hesitated. I heard about your mom, she said, lowering her voice. She mentioned something at church group, that things have been tight since you stopped helping. I blinked. My throat went dry. I didn't stop, I wanted to say. I just stopped being invisible. But I didn't. I smiled instead, nodded like she'd commented on the weather, and stirred cream into my coffee long after it dissolved. The weight of her words settled in my chest like wet fabric. At home, I opened Facebook, just to see. It didn't take long. My mother had commented on a photo of someone else's family dinner under a friend's post about gratitude in children. "Some kids just forget where they came from," she wrote. "I raised mine better than this." Dozens of comments followed. Hearts, prayers, "You did your best. They'll come back one day." I read each line twice, maybe 3 times. Just 2 weeks ago, I had paid their internet bill. I didn't comment, didn't message. I simply closed the app and let the screen go dark. It was the silence that hurt most. How quickly a story becomes truth when only one person tells it out loud. A few days later, I got a notification from my bank. "You have successfully paid $89.99 to EverComfort heating plan." At first, I thought it was a glitch. Then came a second, and a third. Water, gas, subscription TV, all of them tied to the Grady house. All of them under my name. I logged in, searched the timestamps. Every single one was reactivated after Thanksgiving dinner, after the stream, after the laughter. I called the bank. They confirmed it. These were manually reauthorized from a familiar IP address. I opened my messages. No texts from her, no explanations, just silence and bills. I didn't call. I didn't confront. Instead, I opened my laptop, started a spreadsheet. At the top, I typed, "What they still take." I listed everything. Date, amount, service, internet, heating, streaming, donations made in my name. At the bottom, in a separate cell, I wrote a single sentence. I asked for nothing but respect. They kept taking even that. I printed it, folded the paper, slipped it into an envelope marked Mom. Then I placed it in my outgoing mail tray, right on top of the bills I wouldn't be paying anymore. The knock was too loud to be polite, not frantic, just heavy, like whoever was on the other side believed they had a right to be there. I glanced at the time. 6:04 p.m. I opened the door and found my father standing there, holding a thick white envelope like it weighed more than paper ever should. He didn't greet me, just walked past, straight into the kitchen, and pulled out a chair at my table like it still belonged to him. "I need a few minutes," he said. I didn't answer. I didn't offer coffee. I just sat across from him and waited. He opened the envelope and slid out a stack of documents. Legal ones. Sealed, notarized. My name typed in bold across the top. "It's just a transfer," he said, "for protection. Just putting things back where they belong." I picked up the paper, read silently. It was a property title. The house I helped fix, paid to keep standing. He wanted me to sign it over. To him. "Who paid for the repairs?" I asked. He looked at me flatly. "Colton's always been there when we needed him. It's not about money." I set the paper down, slower than I meant to. My hands felt like they were moving through syrup. "It's not about money," I repeated. He didn't flinch. "I'm your father, Silas," he said, voice low and even. "You're really going to fight your own family over paperwork?" My pulse thudded in my ears. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. "I've been fighting my whole life," I said. "You just didn't see it." He stiffened. Then came the final blow. "Your mother almost had a heart attack because of all this. Do you even care? You're killing her, Silas." And there it was. The line they always reached for when they ran out of excuses. Blame. Suddenly I was 17 again, being told she cried because I applied to an art school. I was 24, being ignored for 3 weeks after I asked to stop covering Colton's car payments. I folded the papers, pushed them back across the table. "You don't get to take from me and then blame me for her pain." He didn't move. His jaw twitched. I stood, walked to the front door and held it open. "If you walk out, this conversation is done," he said. "Then let it be done." He didn't say goodbye. The door clicked shut behind him, quiet and final. The envelope stayed on the table like a ghost of everything that had just been said. The notification was waiting when I woke up. I hadn't even brushed my teeth when I saw it. A tag suggestion on Facebook. From Mom. My heart didn't drop. It didn't rise either. It just paused, like it was bracing. I tapped it. It was a photo. A big, glossy, high-saturation family photo taken just days earlier. Everyone was in it. Colton, Dad, Mom. Even the dog wore a festive bow tie. Caption, "So lucky to be surrounded by love. Family is everything. Everyone was tagged, except me. I stared at the screen like it might flicker and reveal something different, a hidden layer, a forgotten name. But there was no mistake. I scrolled through the comments, endless hearts and clapping emojis. Such a beautiful family. Your kids are amazing, Elaine. You raised them right. No one asked where I was. No one noticed I wasn't there. Or maybe they did, and silence felt more polite. I searched my name on the page. Nothing. I closed the app, opened messages. The family group chat was gone, not muted. Gone. I tried the old link. It had been renamed, archived. I wasn't in it. The last message I sent there was a receipt. Proof of payment for the property tax I had covered that month. No one responded to it. Not even a thumbs up. I sat down at the kitchen table and exhaled through my nose. Not like I was angry. More like I was finally releasing the weight I'd carried for years. Then I opened the photo again, zoomed in. I remembered standing there that day, off to the side. I remember my arm brushing Colton's, just barely in the frame. Now it was gone, cropped, not just excluded, erased. I didn't open Facebook again. I opened my banking app instead. I moved quickly, every account tied to their address, every auto payment, every recurring transfer. Click, remove, click, disable, click, close. No hesitation this time. No guilt, just clean silence. I drafted an email. Subject line, final notice. Attached the last 12 months of receipts, screenshots of the services in my name, payment confirmations. One sentence in the body. As of today, we are financially and emotionally severed. I hit send. The apartment was quiet. I could hear the hum of the refrigerator, the slight creak of the heating pipes, the street traffic 3 floors down. But inside, silence. And for once, it felt like peace. A week had passed since the final email. Not a word came back. I walked by the Grady house that morning, not because I wanted to, but because it was still, somehow, on my route. The sidewalk cracked in the same places. The front steps still slanted just enough to trip you if you weren't paying attention. Colton's car was parked out front. Shiny, clean, like nothing had ever been wrong here. I didn't stop, didn't even slow down. But I did glance at the door. For a second, I wondered if they'd changed the locks. Again, I kept walking. Back at my place, I made tea. Peppermint, no sugar. The apartment was small, tiny if you asked my mother, but it was mine. The rent came out of my account. The password to the Wi-Fi was mine. The art on the wall? Mine too. I hadn't hung any family photos. Not because I was bitter, but because I didn't want to look backward every time I passed through a hallway. I sat at my desk, opened my journal, and looked at the list I started months ago. Things they forgot. My birthday, my art, my value, my voice, things I remembered. My worth, my limits, my name. I didn't cry. The tears had already come and gone. These days, I didn't feel rage, just space, a strange, almost quiet kind of peace. Later that afternoon, I uploaded a short animation to my portfolio. It was simple, just a girl walking out of a house and into a storm, umbrella in hand, wind tearing at her clothes, but she kept walking. At the very end, the clouds split and light poured through. A stranger commented, "This felt like someone reclaiming something." They had no idea how right they were. That night, I found a draft message on my phone to my mother. It read, "I hope you're doing well. I hope you don't hate me. I don't hate you." I didn't delete it, but I didn't send it either. I placed the phone face down on the nightstand and reached for my sketchbook instead. Before bed, I wrote in my journal, "Sometimes closure isn't loud. Sometimes it's just walking through a door and deciding not to open it again." I folded the page and tucked it behind a photo of myself at 10, standing under a tree, missing a front tooth, holding a paintbrush like it was magic. Before turning off the light, I stepped out to the porch and turned on the small lamp near the stairs. Maybe it wasn't for them anymore. Maybe it was for me. I used to think that loyalty meant silence, that being the good daughter meant staying quiet, giving endlessly, and asking for nothing in return. But the truth is, love without respect isn't love at all. It took me years to understand that setting boundaries isn't betrayal. It's protection. Not just from others, but from the version of myself that thought being needed was the same as being valued. If you've ever felt erased, overlooked, or taken for granted, I hope this story reminds you, you are not invisible. You have the right to be seen, to choose peace, and to walk away when your presence is only welcomed for what it gives, not for who you are. What about you? Have you ever been in a situation where walking away felt like the only way to be whole again? Let's talk. Share your story in the comments. Whether it's a whisper or a roar, it matters. If this video touched your heart, leave a 1 in the comments, or tell me what city or state you're watching from. And hey, if it didn't quite land for you, I'd still love to hear why and where you're tuning in from. Your perspective matters too. If you found this story meaningful, hit that subscribe button and follow for more real stories that might just mirror pieces of your own life.